Hi guys, I'm Brad, and welcome to the Hollywood Rewrite, where we take a look at some of cinema and TV's most troublesome titles and have a poke around under the hood. I'm joined by John. Hi, John. This week, our audience selected the film Alien 3 from 1992, written by David Giler, Walter Hill and Larry Ferguson, and directed by David Fincher. But before we crash land on a near-deserted galactic penal facility / monastery, if you haven't done so already, check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net, for all our latest projects, including script readings from our international network of screenwriters. Also, you can follow us on social media, hit up the links in the description, and subscribe to our podcast. Just search The Script Department wherever you get your podcasts for daily episodes. So, John, I know you're a big fan of the Weyland Yutani verse. What do you make of Alien 3?
Not a big fan of this film. I remember it being very underwhelming when I saw it. I was doing my first experience watching the Alien films was watching Alien, then Aliens, and Alien 3 and so on with the quadrilogy box set when I was younger. And I remember just being on a roll with the first two films and being so underwhelmed with this one. And I remember being so excited as well because it was David Fincher. I'd seen Fight Club, and I'd heard so much about Fincher as this legendary filmmaker. This was early in my film education, I think, where I wasn't quite up to scratch on his filmography, but I knew that he was somebody to take note of. And I remember watching this film and, seeing, moments of genius in there for sure. But overall as a film, I just thought this has torpedoed this franchise. And I rarely say that. I'm rarely that critical. I don't believe this has anything to do with Fincher, though. I will say that. I think his career has only ever been from strength to strength, I think. With maybe just a few slight kind of dips here and there, maybe, but even then those films are still very competently made films. I completely chalk this down to the producers putting their hand at the screenplay rather than letting somebody else or even, letting somebody else write this script. No clear vision for what it was meant to be. You can see the rewrites as they're happening, as the film is unfolding. All the stories of daily rewrites and everything, you can just see it happening on screen. This is, I don't think Godfather 3 is as masterful as Part 1 or 2, but I don't think it torpedoes that franchise. I don't think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull it might be a weaker link to the chain of those movies, but I can see the rationale behind why that film, or what that film contributes. I can see what it contributes to the characters and to the universe. This is a film that actively goes out of its way to just wipe everything out. And it's, dare I say, as unimaginative as a bad episode of Game of Thrones. So yeah, that's my feeling on it.
It's not. I mean, you say it's not Fincher's fault, and you say it's the producer's fault, and there's just the whole story about how it was made. I think there's a whole documentary on it, like how difficult it was. I mean, it was in development hell for years and years, and there's like people like William Gibson writing scripts. I'd have loved to have seen the William Gibson one. That would have been amazing. But it just went on and on and on, and they changed director, and they pulled in Fincher because they thought because it was his first feature, he was going to be a yes man, and he wasn't. He is a perfectionist, as we know from his later catalogue. I mean, he makes some spectacularly detailed films, and that doesn't come from just saying yes to the studio. Now, obviously, the studio had been on this a lot longer than Fincher, so they wanted to get it over the line. And it was almost like there was a cocktail of crazy going on with this thing that just, I don't know. For me, I watched it when I remember it coming out when I was about 12. So I couldn't go and see it at the cinema because I think it was a 15. And a couple of years later, it came out on VHS, and my friend got it. I remember being so excited because some of the scenes that you could see on the posters, and I don't think I'd seen any trailers at that point because you couldn't watch them online, but all of the bits that you'd seen looked iconic, like the alien in Ripley with a bald head sort of cowering. Like, some shots are just immense in this thing. Fincher, There are some incredible compositions on screen, but I remember watching it, and I had the weird thing that I think you said you had it for Crystal Skull, where you were so excited to see it, and you sort of finished, and you were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that was great," and then afterwards you're a bit like, there's a few logic issues with this thing, like what happened there, and I think that's how I came at it, and I fell out of love with it over a few months, I think, of watching it again and again on VHS. And there are just, I don't think it was all bad. I just think there were a few parts of it that sort of made some things unforgivable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, all the challenges that you have with this franchise, such as, for example, anytime a new Alien versus Predator movie comes out, or Alien, or Prometheus, or any of those kind of films come out, or even the video games, I'm always interested. What's the conceit behind how the alien gets where it is, right? How does this thing from this planet make its way to some other planet, or to some, or some other kind of place? And the solution to that shouldn't be kill your characters. Like if you're killing your stars, including Hicks and Newt, then and putting a ticking clock on the death of Ripley, you're missing the, like, no, that's not, figure something else out. And if you can't, I don't know, there's gotta be some way you can just make it happen. And the idea that the alien had, the alien queen or whatever had, or an alien creature had nested in the escape pod, I think was the conceit. I'm like, okay, fine. It doesn't quite line up with what happened in Aliens, but fine, let's go with it. You don't have to kill your main characters for that to happen. Then
They literally took the "kill your darlings" thing too literally, didn't they?
Yeah,
they are my darlings. Let's kill them.
Yeah, and it is so strange because it's the producers making those creative choices. Like, you're the ones who should be doing everything you can to prolong the franchise. And was it David Goller and Walter Hill? I remember seeing them being interviewed in the Alien 3 DVD, and just being completely defensive the whole time about how the film was made, and like how all the development hell and everything. They were really frank about it, and they were accepting no responsibility, from what I remember. And I just, when I look back on that now, being wiser to the industry and to that kind of profession, I'm just thinking, bad producing, because you just potentially killed off the best kind of buddy cop duo in the Alien universe, Hicks and Weaver, and what could have been one of the great Hollywood will they won't they romances, and yeah, so
it was. I mean, I think it caused a lot of problems with the talent as well, because the original agreement from Sigourney Weaver was that she'd take a side or backseat to the story, and this would be Hicks's story. So Michael Bain was like, "Awesome! I'll be the lead in the next Alien film. I'll be doing it with Sigourney Weaver. Wonderful." And that was the plan, basically. And I saw an interview with Michael Bain where he explained that they'd made David Fincher call him and say, "We're sorry you're not in it." And it's just this expletive laden, like, "How fucking dare you?" Like, really furious. And he said, I partially regret that, because now he's David Fincher. I mean, he was David Fincher at the time, but now he's the David Fincher. And then I think they called him back and went, "Can we use your picture?" And he went, "Okay, you can use my picture, but it's really going to cost you a lot of money." And he was really angry. And then, of course, because he was going to be the lead, and then he was nothing. He was gone. And then Weaver was the lead again. And she wasn't sure about that, which is, I think that influenced the decision to kill her off. So the story was heavily influenced by many other factors. And it you can see where that led. I mean, a story's a story. It shouldn't be, led by finance and talent and all this kind of stuff. Like, potentially talent is more important than anything, because if you don't have the lead, you're screwed. But there is a level that you need to cut off, like the corporate interference with the writing process, because it don't work.
But this was typical. We don't have a story, but let's just figure it out along the way. Kind of, this was, let's just make a third Alien film. It's time, we have to make it. Now is when the stars are aligning, and we got to put it out by this date or whatever. I get that. It's 1992 as well, so I'm imagining it'd be interesting to know how that fell in with like Jurassic Park, for example, and stuff like I mean, you got one of the biggest blockbusters in the history of cinema on the horizon, and we all know, like, the timing and the scheduling of film releases is everything. You don't want to be in competition with Jurassic Park, for example. So and any other number of blockbusters that would have been out at the time.
Oh, I mean, it was a huge time. In that 5 or 6 years, you've got like 2 Batman films. You've got Independence Day and Jurassic Park, and it was huge. It was like Blockbusterville. It was that was a time of, I remember being happy.
The industry is seriously changing at this point as well. Visual effects are just going to have a complete
but not these ones.
Not these ones.
Not these ones.
Like, this is the thing as well. It is the absolute bargain bin monster movie compared to the monster movies that are going to come out in the next 12 months. It's incredible when you think the other big monster movie is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And just think about that. It is night and day. And the irony is that you've got the two of the probably greatest American Hollywood filmmakers of all time having their big moment in the spotlight around that same time,
Yeah.
Like the arrival of David Fincher handling one of the biggest projects of all time, or one of the biggest franchises of all time.
Yeah.
And then you've got Spielberg doing his thing, and we're not even talking. We haven't even touched on, like, Terminator 2 is on the horizon as well, and people must be giddy about that within the industry and so on. And ILM is just being is just carving out its next 20 years, based on the films it's going to be making now, and it's just such a strange dud, isn't it?
It shouldn't have happened. I think there are things that could have been different in this. We've got 4 talking points, which I'll rattle through now, and we'll go back over them. So the first one is the most contentious one, which is almost certainly the first thing people talk about when they talk about this film, and that's the killing off. I mean, we've already spoken about it. The killing off of Hicks and Newt right at the start. It's off screen. It's before the film begins, and it falls very flat and very. It feels like a betrayal. So that is point 1. Point 2 is sort of the nature of the environment. So the prison / monastery. It's very flat and it's very gloomy. Yes, it's a prison, but a lot more goes on in a prison than people sort of wandering around empty rooms. They might be in cells, for example. So that's point 2, sort of the nature of the environment in which it's set. And the things attached. There are plenty of things attached to that we can talk about. There's the tone of it. So the tone of it is like relentlessly dark. I knew that Alien had a level of relentless darkness to it, but there was a little bit of comic relief in it, light comic relief. Aliens, there was loads of banter and quotable lines. It was an action film, so yes, there was a little bit more opportunity to that. But coming off the back of that, we needed something. And the prison. There's a little tiny bit of banter between the prisoners, but it just feels sad, really.
It's not a fun movie.
No,
it's
it's
just
not
not a
fun.
fun movie.
It doesn't.
Even the first Alien film is fun.
Yeah.
It's just you just don't want to be in the shoes of any of those characters.
Yeah, it's like just running through the mud with a ticking death clock over you, and all your friends are dead. Like, that's where we are with this film. And the last one is Ripley. Now, this is quite a big point. This was originally 2 or 3 points I've compressed into one. So Ripley, it's almost like we get a mirror image of the Ellen Ripley that we know. So she's not kick-ass, take charge, first class Lieutenant Ripley. She's quite quiet and meek and reserved. Yes, she's in a prison, but she faced down a load of aliens with a flamethrower. Like she's a strong character, and they made her very not strong in this film until towards the end when she'd got a death wish. And then there's her attitude towards Charles Dance's character. So her libido is appear like on screen immediately, and it's with when he appears, and it's like, well, she hasn't had any form of sexual attraction visible on screen for the first two films, which cover 60 years. And then all of a sudden she's grieving and she jumps into bed with a guy in an environment where she's like there's a very high chance of sexual assault. And it's like
she is treated like a piece of meat.
It just didn't that didn't add up. And
it's really
it's there's also the fact she gets impregnated by an alien before the film starts. That was the whole point, the opposite of what needed to happen in the other film. The whole of the film was about not getting impregnated and killed. We start this one, she's already impregnated, which then makes her impervious to alien attacks. So it's an alien survival movie with an alien that doesn't want to kill the protagonist. And it's like, what? So I like some, within what I just mentioned, I like some of the bits, but let's go back over it. So we've got, the first one's killing off Hicks and Newt. When you saw that report on the screen, how did you feel that first time?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was crestfallen. I mean, it was just, even then when I didn't really know how to write a screenplay, or I'm not thinking about audiences and their experience of watching a story or the promise of the premise, the Blake Snyder idea. You've got to, it's what the audience is coming to see, and you've got to understand what it is that they're looking for. And, you've given them this amazing sequel, one of the great Hollywood sequels, Aliens, and created these three great characters that have all survived together and bonded and have made it out the other side. And that, did you ever think, and again, I'm talking to Geiler and Hill here, because did you ever think for a second that the audience might just want that? So it's staggering. I need to teach this film more actually to students, because it is the exact opposite of how to treat your audience. And that's how I felt at the time. I just thought, I was looking forward to him. I like him. Michael Biehn. I like him from Terminator. I like whenever I saw him in any movies. And it was just, I'd always perk up. And even now, whenever I see him in anything, I always perk up when he was in Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, it was great in that.
Point. I was just like, oh wow, cool, it's him. And the idea of having him in this other Alien film was such a great, like, I remember coming off Aliens and then looking forward to watching Alien 3 the next day and looking to see what they get up to next. What's Newt going to be like? Are they going to do a time jump like they did before, where Newt might be an adult or something? And what might that look like? And then I think maybe I don't think IMDb was around back then, but I don't know. I think I looked at the credits or something on the back of the box or something like that, and I just remember not seeing their face, not seeing their names on it, and just thinking, hold up. So yeah, I mean, I was just pure disappointment. Yeah. Sorry,
I mean, it's not because of what they went through in the previous film, and this is it's a third in a trilogy. It is a standalone film because it sort of wraps things up at the start of what happened in the last film, but you're very rarely going to come to Alien 3 before you've seen Aliens and Alien. And those characters, if they're going to die, they earned a death. They earned a good death that on screen, and it felt like a betrayal to just have them gone. I mean, even if, for example, Newt is in a coma or something, and she's impregnated and Ripley has to euthanize her, that would have much more weight, or Ripley has to try and operate or something. They have to try and remedy this. That would be something. But no, she's gone off screen, and then we have a really, I mean, the autopsy scene is horrific. That is really heart-wrenching. Like, I feel quite really close to tears watching that, because it's Newt and you can see what Ripley's going through. That was a very powerful scene, but there was no weight before that. It's like she was a statistic on the screen.
I remember Marcus talking about Luke Skywalker in the recent films and saying how I think the term he used, they did him dirty or something
Yeah.
like that, and I just and it made me laugh, and I think this is absolutely the case study for doing characters dirty.
Yeah.
Let's say,
Did
or
the audience dirty.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and it's just why, like, really
Yeah.
why, and I can totally imagine David Fincher. He is a genius filmmaker, and I can imagine him knowing, even if this is his first mainstream movie, or even his first film. I'm not too sure if he did anything else before that, but I can imagine him knowing, being smart enough then to know, ugh, what am I getting myself into here? Like, there's just bad creative choices being made in that. I have a solution for for that point and the other point regarding the location. We'll get to that maybe later, but I think that might be. But anyway, the solution really is just don't kill them. And if you are so if Hill and Geiler are so adamant that Michael Biehn has to go, if Michael Biehn has done them wrong or something in a previous life, and like he's gonna be written out of this franchise somehow, you just have him sacrifice himself, maybe at the end of Act 1, or maybe at the end of Act 2. Act 2 would be more appropriate. You just have him, sacrifice himself to save the day, and Newton, and what could you possibly have against Newt? Honestly, I don't know.
I think, yeah, I like, the thing is, I like the idea of Ripley being isolated. There's a terror in that she was with friends and then she isn't. I don't want the friends to die, but there is something in her being separated. So I had it in my head that, again, don't kill them. Maybe could we separate them? Do you think there's a way of separating them? Can they be quarantined? Can they be, because it's a child and another man and they're worried about them being killed? Do they lock them in another part? And
Well, there absolutely is a way of separating them.
Yeah.
And that is, again, comes back to the idea of it being a prison.
Yeah.
And I don't want to jump the gun, so we'll get to that point when when you talk about location. But I think separation is absolutely a great thing. You've brought them together in the second film. Let's pull them apart in the third film, but not kill them. Have them try to get back to each other again. The idea of Newt and Ripley spend so much time together in Aliens, so have Newt and Hicks spend time together in the third film.
Yeah.
And by the end of that film, then you will either have the complete family dynamic rebuilt from the ground up, or built from the ground up, where you've had two adventures now where the kid is bonding with both sides of the family, both sides of the parents, or you will have one of them die. Again, if we're so adamant that this is the studio note and we got to respect the studio note that these characters have to die in some way, you have one of them die, and then Newt is the witness to their character. I understand Hicks's sacrifice because I spent time with him and he told me things about his childhood or whatever, or about his philosophy in life, or he taught me lessons, and I understand his sacrifice more. Or the same with Ripley. I understand if Ripley dies at the end, I understand that she has been through far more than I've ever been through with this creature. So even though I lost my parents, but again, it goes back to, like, Newt lost her parents. She has already suffered the tragic loss. You don't have to then kill her.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, after all that, she just dies in a pod. She drowns. She drowns in a pod. Sorry.
Like, if anything, her arc is finding a surrogate family, finding reason to continue in life. She's clearly traumatized beyond, she is beyond recognition. If her parents did survive and found her, they wouldn't recognize her behavior. Like, she's so traumatized in that second film, which is amazing. Actually, never gets enough credit for the way she just looks dead in her eyes. She's amazing, and just give her a chance to come back from the other side. Give her the chance to push the button that's going to kill the alien at the end to save Ripley or something like that. It's the problem here isn't stopping the characters from getting killed at the beginning. The problem is making use of these characters, because clearly they didn't know how to make use of those characters.
Can you imagine if Newt had have been in this film, like the actress whose name I've forgotten now might have had a career, because she stopped after this, didn't she? She may have gone on to act in more things, but this was her. It killed her. It killed Newt. So
it's such a shame. I think it says here on IMDb Alien 3, Danielle Edmond is Newt, but I don't trust that, because this might be a replacement, but this might be the body double.
I think that was the body double, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't even say that that's so if I click on Newt, let's see what comes up here. No, it's only Alien.
Carrie Henn, wasn't it?
That's it, Carrie Henn. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and I always get the names confused with the girl from Jurassic Park as well, because she gave up acting as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And but isn't it a shame, like, that on IMDb I can't even find the name of the actor?
Yeah,
because she's not in this film. It's incredible. Like, she's not even in. Yeah.
So to the point of having them separated, this film doesn't really have much of a B story, if any.
No,
I think the B story is the corporation's coming, and that's it. There's a couple of phone calls, and then there's obviously the side relationship stories, but I wouldn't really call them a B story at all. They don't feel.
See, I would disagree. I would say that the A story of this movie, if we're talking about like Ripley's A story and B story, like her A journey and her B journey, let's say, I would say the A story is we got to get the corporation down here to save us all, and then the B story of that then would be I'm forming a relationship with Charles Dance.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's ever said that in the history of cinema. Like, I'm forming. He's always like the evil mastermind, isn't he? Or something. I'm falling in love with Charles Dance. It's such a strange. He's a great. I mean, a wonderful actor, but
he looks so young in this film as well. Young.
Yeah. He's so unrecognizable in some ways. But he's always the mastermind. He's always the villain. So the idea of somebody falling for him is just or giving wanting to be around this person is just we're so conditioned that he's the evil guy in these movies, and television shows. But to me, I would say that that's it. But the fact that we're even debating that is proof of how weak these threads are. It's the corporation is just an afterthought, and all these ideas you've built up in 2 movies are just afterthoughts. And then they're putting way too much energy into her sex life, which is completely irrelevant. It's just strange.
Right, so we're going to separate them. We're going to have Hicks and Newt buddied up, and they're going to be in another part of the prison or another place, which will lead us into the prison. So the environment, the point of the environment. So this is a prison. There's no sort of trading of contraband going on. There's no escape plans. There's no riots, takeovers. There's no anything going on. There's no gang warfare. There's nothing.
There is the threat of sexual assault, though, as you said.
Constant threat of sexual assault.
There's constant threat of that, but nothing else to do with what we might have seen in movies like
a real fun movie
of any other prison and of any other prison movies, or prison fare. And again, they went for the lowest, most disgusting hanging fruit going.
Yeah.
So how stupid! Like
the fact that they're just wandering around the complex. No one has jobs. There's no organization to it. There's no cells. There aren't any weapons anywhere, and there's no guards. I know they kind of explain this, that we've been left. They've shut it down. How much money must it take to do food drops and stuff on that planet? Wouldn't they just move them to another facility
where they can grow or something?
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. Like, yes, it was a lead like smelting plant or something, and then they went, oh yeah, it's fine, let's just leave them there. I like the idea that they're even prisons rejects, but there's nothing going on in this environment. It feels too flat and too dead.
The only character in this story that feels like they deserve, that they're actually like almost like that there's something else about them that we're not seeing, is the character played by Charles Dutton, Dylan, I think. And he, she goes to there is a great line in this where Sigourney Weaver, shaved head and all, comes into the prison canteen and she sits down. Or she goes to the table where he's sitting and he says, "You should know I'm a rapist of women, a rapist and a killer of women." And he said, and then she says, "Well, I must make you pretty nervous then," or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, or "I must make you pretty uncomfortable then," or something like. She has this really witty, smart response to him, and she's just not afraid of him. And I think they kind of start to bond then at that point. But again, going for the low hanging fruit here, you know, that you couldn't possibly be in prison because you were a master thief or anything. But he's the only one that I might liken to somebody like Hannibal Lecter, where you're kind of charming, but you've got this horrific dark side to you as well. And it's very dangerous to be around you, but there's also this seductive quality about your intelligence or about your philosophy or something.
Yeah, I mean, they need to be sinister, right? You know, they have to be sinister. Yeah, but it's not just rape. You can't imagine her sitting down. I have to warn you, I'm a serial tax evader. It just wouldn't work. It has to be sinister, but there are plenty of sinister things you can be.
Hannibal Lecter never threatened, at least in Silence of the Lambs anyway, from what I remember. I mean, he's a bit predatory with Clarice, but you never feel like he's, I think he steals a kiss, and that's about as worse as this mass murderer gets, you know, and which is not acceptable, obviously, but, you know, he's not making these overt threats to, you know, about assault. And every other character in this is a very one-dimensional kind of brute who's only good for either violence, incompetence, or like you said, they're the prison rejects. To me, it feels like they were the people stupid enough to miss the last helicopter out of Saigon. You know, they just feel like they were left behind when they were building some other prison or whatever, and there just happened to be one or two sinister people in there.
The sinister bald British prison.
Yeah, and that was I remember listening to a conversation. I think it was some analysis of it that somebody did, and maybe it was even in the DVD commentary. And I think it was actually. I think maybe it was Fincher saying that, because Fincher does the commentary on that film, I believe, which is incredible when you think about it. Does he?
I haven't heard the commentary.
Am I mistaken?
I don't know.
I might be mistaken. Maybe it's somebody else doing the commentary, but I remember whoever was doing it said, I don't know, like, you know, it's an unfair kind of thing to say, but said the British accents didn't help with the American audience.
Yeah.
And it was very hard for the American audiences to kind of care about these characters because they were, you know, they weren't actors that they would have recognized or known or whatever.
There's a lot of regional English accents as well, wasn't there? Like,
it feels like the Danny Boyle Alien film, isn't it? You know, like the Train Spotting response to Alien or something. But yeah, like, again, you know, however you want to characterize this prison, the inmates are not interesting at all. There's a film with Sylvester Stallone or is it Arnold Schwarzenegger where they get captured, where he's in a prison, I think it's Sylvester Stallone. He designs prisons for a living. Lockdown or something like that.
Yes, it's got them both in. I think they're both in it.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you know, it's cheesy action movie, whatever. But
it's not Lockdown. I can't remember what it's called now.
But that was a better example of a prison inmates community than this was, you know, and that's like the bare bones of screenwriting, you know. Okay, so I'm going to pitch you my solution to this crappy environment.
Just before you do it, is Escape Plan. That was the name of that film.
Escape Plan. That's the one.
And Stallone punches Schwarzenegger in the stomach, and he's like, "Ha! You punch like a vegetarian." He was everything we wanted.
I love how your accent there veered very closely into "Where Eagles Dare" and, you know, "Papers, Please," kind of, you know. Okay, so before actually I pitch you that, you're familiar with the original idea that people have gone crazy over, which is that it was meant to be a wooden planet. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, that was great.
Was it though?
I love the craziness of what that could have offered us. That just
sounds ridiculously nonsensical to me.
I am there for that film.
But what does that look like?
Exactly.
I know, but how do you make that? You can't. I know they've released the book version of that, the novelization version of that script, or they've released an audiobook version of the script or something like that on Audible. Like, there is that version of the story is out there now for consumption, right? for public consumption.
I would like to see the Fincher Wooden Planet alien movie.
But I don't know how you make that work.
Fincher knows. He knows.
I don't know. When I heard that was the alternative, I just thought, I'm just imagining this thing with. I mean, if you have a problem with the idea of like the food drops, imagine the wood rot you're going to get. Like, I mean, the amount of paint, the amount of varnish you're going to need to fix that, to stop that thing from and I mean, what happens when it's a sunny day? I mean, the whole thing's gonna. I'm not even going to get into it anyway. All right, here's my pitch, right? It's a prison. Have them be locked up in the prison. Have them actually be criminals that have been now arrested. And maybe it's like the corporation has made them fugitives because of the destruction they caused on the planet. They're out on the escape pod. They've been captured. And it's like, oh, we've been rescued. And it's like, no, you're being arrested. And it flips the idea of the opening shot of the second film, which is it's a rescue mission.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than her being questioned about what happened, it's you were sent there, and one of your soldiers, one of the Marines, clearly went AWOL and killed everybody.
Yes.
Or you are responsible, but either way, and it can be this. Look, if you hang this on Hicks, we'll let you go. And it can be this thing where, or you like Newt is going to, whatever, and Hicks can take the fall and say, yeah, I did everything, and he can get locked away, and then, or you can have them both out, whatever, but they're on this prison planet, and it doesn't even have to be a planet that is a prison. It can just be there's a prison on this planet that is like, that there are other things going on in that planet as well. And there could be other industry going on or whatever. And you fast forward a few years, and it can be now that there's a prison break. Or you just do the thing where everybody has been locked up there. Like, they've been captured by this local group. They've been brought to this place, like what actually happens in the first film. Or sorry, what actually happens in the original film, which is they're just brought there because this is the nearest kind of civilization, nearest source of civilization. But you have it be a case where they are locked up, like they are now like criminalized or something, and they're separated in that way. And you have to orchestrate a prison break. Again, have guards, have a prison inmate system. If you look at the opening scene in Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol, a great prison break sequence. People love a great prison escape movie, and you could have done Escape Plan with this, where you could have even done something where Sigourney Weaver has been brought to the planet, is being like walked down, handcuffs and all that. She's the new inmate in the prison, and she's here to get somebody out. Who is she trying to get out? Oh, it's Hicks, something like that. I know I don't have a specific example here of what to do, but it's a prison break is what this movie should have been.
I like the idea of a prison break alien film. I think that's good. I like the...
But there's also the fear. Like, when you get out, the alien gets out. And if you have some sort of a community nearby, then you're risking the alien coming into the community. So the prison break could even be like the second act, and then the third act can be this thing has now gotten loose.
So if we bring them down to the planet, let's imagine they because obviously there has to be some process to them being imprisoned. So what if it's sort of like it's decided digitally where the lifeboat goes? There was an event, there was an explosion. They need to go to the closest place where there is some sort of law, which is this happens to be the prison, and they arrive and they're tried in a kangaroo court while they're there. So that's sort of like, yeah, no, you guys evidently, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm a lieutenant. What is he, a lieutenant? No, I'm a corporal of the Marine Corps. And they're like, not anymore, mate. You've gone AWOL. Like, that's it. You're going down. You're complicit. You're a minor.
And it's Weyland-Yutani putting pressure on the system to make sure that these people do not get to talk to anybody.
Well, that can be part of the subterfuge, I guess, that Weyland-Yutani they're just having them held there until they arrive.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
they,
like okay.
yeah,
Yeah, you're doing that. So it's not like we're rewriting the whole structure of this kind of well, I mean we kind of are, but the idea that Will and Yutani are they're waiting for them to come, but in this instance it's we need some reason to lock them down where they can't talk to anybody, they can't give their side of the story, arrest them, criminalize them, make it to the point where nobody's going to want anything to do with them. The staff aren't going to believe them or anything. And yeah, your kangaroo court and now Will and Yutani are on the way.
nice. So
Yeah.
how? I like that. It feels exciting. How do we get the alien into it? So we're going to have there's something going to be on board the lifeboat.
You always have to complicate it, don't
I
you, Brad?
know. If it wasn't called Alien
Do,
3, we could have just called.
do we? Can we just do Escape Plan
Could have called it
3?
Ellen and Dwayne get locked up too. Yeah, it's
That's the biggest challenge with everything, which is the challenge with every alien film is the contrivance of how do you get the alien there in the first
the
place.
xenomorph. So
Xenomorph,
we could just have because a facehugger stowed away on that thing, and that didn't feel too crazy, but we didn't see it. So they're not in space for a long time, right? So a facehugger could go on there, but it might be stuck somewhere else because it might be stuck.
The facehuggers can live, and maybe
Yeah.
it's in stasis. Like if the facehugger was somehow in stasis,
Yeah.
then.
But I mean,
then
it could
it
have
would
just lived. It
survive.
could have just lived in the ship. I mean, it would have to be in a separate part of the ship to the people, so it couldn't do the thing where it melts through it melts through things, doesn't it, to get them? So why couldn't it just be in a cargo hold or something on that thing? And when they land, they take them to the kangaroo court, and then later a couple of like oiks go to salvage the stuff. One of them gets impregnated, and then
like if we're doing the prison break where they're being tried, Newt would ultimately be taken away from them, and I don't know where she would go. I can't imagine they would just keep her in a quarter somewhere. I mean, they might, but at some point somebody's going to come to get rid of her, to send her off world. And you don't have to wait for Weyland Yutani to come for that to happen, So there's a part of me, because I imagine there are staff as well. If we're doing a prison break thing where there's a proper turnaround of staff and so on, and this is a fully crewed prison, then you would need proper transport coming and going from the prison. So I can't imagine Newt would ultimately be there for long. So you either kill her off as originally planned, or you do the idea. It's the easy idea, the face hugger just hanging around. I think audiences would forgive us for that because it would ultimately make for a better film.
Yeah, I think having, because there was some weird stuff went on with the dog and the ox in this film, that Fincher originally filmed it going into an ox and bursting out, and then they had it coming out of a dog, and the size of it is weird and all that kind of stuff. But I still think it's interesting that it can come out of other things, but I don't know if we need that. I don't know if we need that.
No, but I liked that because it introduced the idea that it is affected by its host. And it became a quadruped because it came out of a a quadruped creature.
I guess I was excited to see it happen when I first watched it. Maybe I've soured to the idea with old age. Oh, you shouldn't have dog aliens. They're supposed to be people aliens.
But ox alien sounds
ox
much.
aliens.
I much prefer that. Again, I don't know why. Like, how often do you see an ox in a movie? I mean, So it's
maybe we do go for that kind of thing then. Maybe we still have the face.
I don't like saying impregnated Newt because that just sounds really dark. Yeah. Really, really dark. Let's not do that. It has infected Newt, let's say.
So we coming to the point where we could kill her off, because we were originally like, no, you can't kill off Newt and Hicks. Are we saying if you give us Hicks, you can take Newt? Is that
okay? I'll pitch you. I think audiences would take Hicks over Newt, but I will pitch you this. Okay, go watch. Have you seen Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and Dominion?
Yes.
Okay, so you've seen the way that Maisie, the teenage girl in that, works with Claire and Owen.
Yes.
Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt. That, I think, is what your film would be. It would be Sigourney Weaver Hicks and Ripley, and then Newt would be the equivalent of Maisie in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and Dominion.
Okay, right.
And if you think about the way she helps them in Fallen Kingdom, she is kind of helping them get away. She's the one who pushes the button at the end, and so on and so forth. And she has a role to play in all of this, and it is about her fight. Like I wasn't really gone on that character in the first time I saw the film, but when I went back and watched it again recently, I actually liked the idea that here she is taking control of her life and taking control of her identity and her existence. And Newt is somebody who has been seriously traumatized by an attacker. I mean, these films have never made an attempt to hide the fact that there is an allegory here for assault and for violence towards women. And this is a child who is a victim of such assault and violence in a science fiction way, a science fiction setting. I think the idea of her taking back control over who she is and not letting her attacker win the long game, let's say, I think is something you could do that would have much darker parallels to what's going on in the Jurassic World movies. But there is precedent now, I think, for how that movie might play out.
I like that. I do that. Yeah, that's a nice sort of comparison to sort of draw from. I like that thought. So we're not going to kill.
No, we
Newt.
won't.
We won't kill Newt. It's okay, Newt. You can stay.
But we have thought about it, and we've weighed up both sides, actually, and I do feel that this is a better alternative that I think audiences will appreciate.
They're all going to survive. They're going to be incarcerated rather than guests. I still feel that Newt would probably end up with Ripley just out of logistics if they're going to lock them away somewhere. That is going to I mean, it shouldn't be everything, but I guess there's still a level of threat from having two women in this environment, or a young girl and a woman in this environment, which we can still have in there, but it's not the be all and end all of the prison. It's one story. Maybe there's what's his name in Con Air, Johnny 23 or something.
Yeah,
Danny Trejo's character.
Danny Trejo's
Maybe
character.
there's a Johnny 23 in there, and that embodies that threat instead of every single bald British guy embodies that threat.
Yeah, so, and the alien will maul that character.
Oh, he's going to suffer. So we mentioned about the guns and the weapons in this environment.
Actually, sorry. Just to go back to that point, having a character like that, because look, we're talking about a movie made in the early 90s. It's low hanging fruit everywhere here. So of course there's going to be your Johnny whatever character, right? Your character who is proud of who they are, of the horrific crimes they've committed, right, in this prison. You turn the tables on it like that. You have that there's a brilliant scene in Alien Resurrection. There are a few brilliant scenes in that, but this is one of the really strong ones, which is you've got that really innocent, naive character who I can't remember the actor's name with the glasses, and he's very very afraid all the time. He's shaking and everything, and then he wakes up and he doesn't realize there's an alien inside, and Sigourney Weaver kind of explains this thing is going to come to maturity and it is going to break out of your chest and it is going to kill you and it's going to be horrific and all that, and he's just left with this horror. And it's amazing that they just let him sit with this idea for the rest of the movie, and it's incredible. And I think you do that in this film where you make your Danny Trejo character, whoever, who's now become one of the most lovable actors in Hollywood, isn't it? You take that character and you have him sit with this idea that he has been violated, he has been hunted by this predator, and he will go through hell now in the next few hours.
So are you saying that it's the rapist that is impregnated by the Queen?
I would do something.
Impregnated with a queen.
I'm forgetting my biology, my xenomorph biology here and all that, but sure, why not? But I'm basically what I'm saying is you would have that person be one of the gang trying to escape. Like, it's not just going to be the three of them. It's going to be a few of them. You got to have people get picked off along the way. You got to have the team get whittled down. And so they've reluctantly following, this guy's reluctantly with them, or they're reluctantly allowing him to come along. And because maybe he knows his way around or whatever. And, Weaver's protecting Newt from him the whole time. And maybe Newt's getting a quick jab in there every now and again and holding her own against this character. And then eventually, something happened. They rescue him from a facehugger or whatever. And it's like, what just happened to me? And Sigourney Weaver explains what just happened to you. And then he's gotten, you make it the ultimate tasting his own medicine.
Yeah, I like that.
That's good. Like the ultimate, I have tasted my medicine and it is bad. Like, obviously. So that's how I would work that idea in, because yes, it is a prison movie and you are going to, as I think as banal as it can be now to kind of touch on those kind of story points in prison movies. This is 1992. And it's the absolute most common kind of direction for prison movies to go in. Shawshank has it. Everything has it, So let's make it an experience that the audience can be like cheering afterwards that this guy gets his comeuppance,
Yeah, nice.
Because let's not kid ourselves. The rapist characters in these films become likable characters in these films, or at least they're presented to be likable characters. Like Charles S. Dutton's character is not meant to be this sickening, despicable character. He openly admits who he is, and we are positioned to like him. Whether you do or not is different, but we are positioned to be on his side.
And then they get their comeuppance anyway.
Yeah, but I don't like that, because I think, because we're supposed to be on the side of Ripley and she's not going to be comfortable around these people. So we shouldn't feel comfortable around these people.
Yeah, exactly. So great. I think there's some interesting stuff in there. So we're going to have some of the similar threads about there are people impregnated by the alien. Maybe one happens with an animal like the ox, so it happens quite quickly, and then the other one is the Danny Trejo character. It could even be Danny Trejo in this film. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Okay, that's it. We're putting him in there. Danny Trejo's in there, and he's the awful sexual abuser that ends up being impregnated by an alien.
He's the character he plays in Con Air.
Yeah. He's just Johnny 23 in space.
Forget Con Air. He's just that's
it's
it.
The same.
And,
there's no explanation. He's just there on a colony.
And we are absolutely not. We're not playing this for laughs.
Yeah. Exactly.
We are playing this for. Stop laughing, Brad.
I can't.
We are not playing this for laughs. We are playing this for this is. For all the times Ripley has been afraid for her body at the hands of this creature, at the hands of the xenomorph, as everybody has been afraid of their body. Because that's the thing. It's not that this thing will kill me. It's what this thing will do to me before it kills me. And that's what makes it so horrific as a franchise, and we're taking this prison. We've got people who've been guilty of that same thing, of that same horror, of inflicting that same horror. Yes. So let's turn the tables on them.
Nice.
And I think that's a great way of allowing the audience to get this weird, perverse satisfaction that is kind of justified,
Yes.
Nice. In their minds,
Nice. So just finishing the prison thing before we move on. So there's this idea that there are going to be wardens, there are going to be guards. It's still going to be quite a little bit of a skeleton. It's a high security, minimum staff prison. The guys don't have. I don't think they should have proper guns, because it's too easy. It's an isolated environment.
Well, okay.
I was going to say they should have some sort of like a space taser or something that works on people, but it does not work on an alien. The kind of idea you can imagine the scene where it's cool, we've got this, bzzz, oh fuck, it doesn't
Yeah.
work. And
Okay. One of the team that's getting out has to be a prison guard. And so you've got prisoners and prison guard and a prison guard, and like it's like maybe 3 prisoners with Hicks. They've earned his respect because he was in with the male population. Weaver and
the
Newt
Gen
were,
Pop.
yeah, they were. I'm not familiar with the parlance. You've got Newt and Ripley who've been kept aside. And maybe they've been looked after and taken good care of by the warden, let's say, who could be like Charles Dance, whatever, and could actually be an ally to them. And say, look, I don't like the corporations any more than you do. So look, just get comfortable for a while, and we'll figure things out. Hicks has organized a prison break, or she's organized the break, or whatever. There's a gang now getting together. The alien is causing chaos, and so they've now got to get out. It's now or never. And you've got, maybe like 3 big heavy duty muscle bound, muscly prisoners who are threatening to the kind of small, timid prison guard who isn't so tough now anymore, And yeah, you're right, no guns, but there is an armory, because there will always be an armory in a prison for these types of incidents. And they've got, and part of the plot is we got to get there. It's like a place on a map that we need to get to, so that it's more than just about getting to the door. We actually have to, because if there is a creature running amok and killing everybody, they're just going to open the doors, right? I mean, at a certain point, they are just going to the staff are going to want to get out. So you make them say, all right, we got to get to the armory first. And then at a certain point, the weapons come in, but now you got prisoners with weapons. And you can have the prisoners kind of turning on each other or turning on our heroes as well. And
a prison break inside of a prison break.
And suddenly Johnny 23 we were just getting to know him, and he was making his little quips and stuff like that. But now he's shown his true colors. We thought maybe he changed or something, or maybe he'd grown or evolved or something. That doesn't forgive him for his crimes, but maybe he tricked us into becoming a likable character, and now he's that evil character again. Alien gets him, before he, something like that. I don't know.
How's about this? How's about the Danny Trejo is the warden? So the warden that has overseen their incarceration, and then he separates Ripley and Newt from the general population, and he's like, come and live in my section of the prison, that's fine. And then it turns out he's creepy as anything, and he's the guy who tries to assault them. He's the guy who gets impregnated, and then he's the ticking clock that they have to try and use. I like the idea that someone can't be hurt by the alien because they're carrying an alien. I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
So maybe he's the weapon they use.
Yeah, I like the idea that he isn't just dead. Like, as soon as it happens, that there is a ticking clock. We've got a window now where we can get out, and the alien won't hurt us. And we're using this horrific criminal as a shield now. I like that. I wouldn't play up the idea that they are threatening her with sexual assault, because I just think, again, it's just too off-putting, I think, for a lot of audience members. And I think it's, it's not necessary. It's not in the other films. That's the thing, you see. It's tonally out of place. That's the problem,
you're right.
I have with it,
Yeah.
Like, and again, you talked about her interest in Charles Dance. Again, feels out of place. There was never that hint of like that her and Hicks were going to tear each other's clothes off and, in a makeout session or something like in Aliens. That just wasn't what that relationship was. It was one built on respect. And so I would continue that line, I think.
Okay.
But I love the idea. I love that idea that we need you to get us to the exit. I like that. And you've done these terrible things, and now you're getting to taste your own medicine, and you will die. And I think there's something.
I think there's a strong sort of a Route One sort of idea there.
Yeah.
Let's keep Johnny 23 as the the prisoner.
And you know what you do? All right,
He'd
we'll
probably
go
make a
even
terrible warden, right? He wouldn't make a good warden.
Yeah. I don't. I would do that. I would go one step further again, and I would have him get his hands on a gun and then turn on everybody and like shoot him a bunch of times, but he misses. And then eventually he can feel the thing moving in his chest. He puts the gun to his head, click, he's out of bullets.
Nice.
And now he's just got to go with it, you know? I'm stealing that from a movie that I can't remember the film. It was a sea monster film that came out it was from the guy who did The Mummy, Stephen Sommers, I think. And it's there's like these sea monsters, and it's like this really horrific kind of thing as well. And he's shooting everybody, and then anyway, I'm robbing it from that. But you put that in here because this is 1992, so it's before that. Anyway,
nice. So we're gonna have, to be clear, we're gonna have one alien appear at the start from an animal, which is the thing that causes the prison break. We're gonna have another facehugger on the loose, or more than one, and they manage to get into Johnny 23, and he becomes the depiction of, he gets his comeuppance in many, many ways. I think that's a nice little thread to have in there. What I'm not feeling is there isn't the ending of the film. I think we need a big splash. I think Hicks or someone like that needs to go.
Hicks needs to die.
So why couldn't we have the Queen being in Hicks and him sacrificing himself at the end? Because we need a big thing to end. Oh, we need to kill that Queen. We need to kill the embryo. We need to kill this or that and the other. But we've already blown up a spaceship. We've already blown up a planet. So we need to. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we can just blow up the prison planet now. I think we need someone to take that with them to their death.
Well, if Weyland Yutani are on the way, and this is meant to be like the final Alien movie, because that was how they had envisioned it, because Ripley is dead at the end of their version. You could do a thing where Hicks is going to take out the corporation. One of my favorite scenes in the in June, the Villeneuve remake he did recently, is the scene, and spoilers, but there's a scene where a character is captured and it has an opportunity to take out everybody in the room while under capture. And it's a really cool, kind of satisfying moment. And you could do something like that where Hicks is like, look, I've got this ticking time bomb in my chest. Maybe they don't know it. And I'm gonna, they're gonna capture me. Like they're not gonna stop until they have what they want, and it could be, I don't know. I feel like you could do something like that where I just wonder what's the big moment. What is it like? Is if he sacrificed himself, how do you do it in a way that's got spectacle to it as well? Because Alien has to have spectacle as well.
Well, I mean, like I say, I think the explosions, like we've had quite a lot of explosions. So it depends. I mean, if you look at Alien Resurrection, he uses it as a thing to kill the villain, doesn't he? Through the back of his head. The bespectacled guy, when it finally comes out of him, he holds the... Yeah, I wonder if there's something in there where we can make that entire experience a sacrifice. He sacrifices himself.
Play out the rest of the ending as well. So how did you feel about the... sorry, I'm just trying to find... Lance Hendrickson, of course. How could I forget? How did you feel about Lance Hendrickson being Peter Weyland?
So in Alien 3, for me. I don't think it was suggested he was Weyland in Alien 3. He just says he's the designer of Bishop, and they sent him so it was a friendly face. I get he's someone important, and then it's Alien versus Predator that made him Weyland.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, okay, I'm confused because here it says on IMDb it says Bishop 2. Okay, that's it. So they sent a friendly face. See, okay, I hate the film a little less now. Okay.
Oh, that's good. We fixed it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. I think actually Alien vs Predator made me think that's Peter Weyland.
Such an influential film, that one.
Ugh. See, it's just a mess. Everything is a mess. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know.
Right, so I think having Hicks impregnated is the ticking clock is nice. Much in the same way we had Ripley impregnated. But it's the Queen, and that it is a nice device to get to the end and say we have to do something here because this is the thing that's going to set it off again. We're going to have another LV426.
Are you saying that there's a face hugger? We don't know where it is. If I lure it out and it attacks me, then it'll put the egg in me and then I can kill myself and that's it, then they're all gone. Whereas if somebody doesn't sacrifice themselves, the facehugger will just remain hidden and it'll just remain hidden until it attacks somebody else. Like, is that what you're saying?
No,
because I'm trying to think.
So Hicks is carrying an alien.
How many people is that now carrying an alien?
So there's Hicks is carrying an alien. He's the one.
Yeah.
There's a facehugger impregnates. I like the animal thing, like we said. I wasn't super sure. So then we have a quadruped one running around, which is because you still need a catalyst to start the prison break, right? Because they're not going to start a prison break because someone's been impregnated. So there needs to be a killer alien on the loose. And then there's a third facehugger. Because it's almost that they're going to try and colonize, right? The aliens. That's the whole point. They're going to try and take over the planet. So then there's another facehugger that gets in the quasi-rapist guy, which is obviously very symbolic.
You need more than one alien in this film, yeah, because it's coming off the back of aliens, and you can't just go back to singular again. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So even if they're not all there on screen at the same time, that's okay. But you've got to have more than one in this movie, yeah.
Right. Definitely. So how's about they are starting another LV426. They're in this prison for a while, and people are going missing.
Yeah.
People are slowly being dragged away. It's not all, clear what's happening. Aliens can creep around, as we see in the first one. They're not always just these big vicious things that plow into like machine gun fire. So maybe when they are in, egg-laying colony mood, that's how it works. The first one that comes out is a queen, and that thing's laying eggs for months. And
then what you do is, we've gotten away, we've killed the aliens, etc., etc. But then when you get to the third, halfway through the third act, Hicks realizes he's got something inside him, maybe. Well,
if we're doing the queen over the queen laying eggs and people going missing, we don't really need that at this point because we have got the ticking clock of the eggs being laid in the broom cupboard in cell block C. There's a load of eggs in there, and there's people are slowly being dragged away, and they're building a small assault army, I guess you could call it, if we build them out to be that intelligent. And then they start taking this place apart, and they have to get to the armory. It makes it.
And it's. I've seen what this can do in Aliens. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, Warden, this is going to happen here. Yeah, and there you go.
And then it's aliens without immediate access to guns, and instead of soldiers, you've got a bunch of violent criminals.
And you're in an environment that your teammates are people who want to kill you, and you're surrounded by walls that are designed to keep you in.
Nice.
Yeah.
So and the story while Act 1's happening and all these eggs are being laid and stuff. The story alongside that is that Ripley and Newt have been separated from Hicks. He's in general population. They're hidden away with a constant threat of being women in this environment. It doesn't have to be as heavily, gloomily based around sexual assault like the original film is. But there is a separation that's gone on. And when people start to go missing, it dawns on them what's happening. And they're finding sticky things on doors and classic alien territory.
And you talked about tone.
Yeah.
This fixes that as well, I think, because if you're doing the kind of the 90s bro culture general population, you've got the opportunity, the room for one-liners, you've got the room for the Con Air style humor that we're plucking so heavily from that movie, aren't we? You've got that kind of that the characters from Con Air need to be on this planet.
Yeah, man. John Malkovich is he's the warden.
There you go. There you go. And you've got all the tonal qualities of that film then, all the one-liners, all the action humor that goes with it. So you're blending Aliens, but you're also dealing with the really heavy dark stuff from the first Alien movie, and it is the coming together of both of them for the third section.
Awesome. So we are creating the Prison Break alien survival film. So we've had the zombie heist film. This is going to be the I'm talking about the Zack Snyder film, of course. But we are now. This is going to be the Alien Prison Break film, which is quite good. I think some of the points we've discussed probably changed Ripley's character a little bit, but there are still certain parts of it where, I mean, the part of having her impregnated by the alien changes her nature entirely. So the very fact that we don't have her impregnated by the alien makes her still a target. She hasn't sort of failed at her main job around these aliens. She can still be kick-ass. I mean, I think that there will be a level of... She will be still out of her depth a little bit, I think, in this environment, because it is a brutish... It would be a brutish, uncalculated sort of hierarchy within the prison. So there is a level of her being vulnerable to people rather than aliens. So there is still a level of vulnerability that she would have, but I think not all of it. Not all of the vulnerability that she was provided with in this film.
Yeah, they've robbed her. I mean, in many ways, they showed her a lot of very strong. They showed her to be quite brave in ways we haven't seen in other films because of the kind of people she's surrounded by, which is good to see. But at the same time, she shouldn't have to just be put in those situations for those characteristics to come out. There are other opportunities. There are other ways you could have done it.
So I think having her with Newt as well in the environment is going to bring out that we spoke about when we analysed Aliens, the mother in Ripley, the story that was slightly lost in the theatrical edit, that she lost her daughter, and then she felt she failed as a mother, and then she found Newt, and there is a story to continue there that could bring a real strength. A renewed strength to the character in this environment, along with, I guess, there would be a guilt. I think so. They're in this environment with these horrible people that are potentially trying to hurt them or kill them or whatever, and then they have to team up with them. But they're the ones who brought the alien onto the planet.
Instead of Bishop 2 coming down,
yeah.
You have a mysterious woman who reveals to be, "It's me, Mom." No, it's not. Of course not. Of course
she died in the big one.
Yeah, I know. Of course that wouldn't work. But yeah. No, I think that works. I think it allows the arcs from the second film to continue to be explored. It allows us a chance to subvert certain aspects of the journey. We're separating them rather than they've all come together now, but now we're going to separate them again, and they got to find each other in the chaos again. I think I love the idea of terrible people all having to work with good people in order to survive. Hicks could be unusually he could fit right in with those people, and you might realize there's some history that Hicks has, that maybe he has committed crimes in the past. Maybe he's committed murders, and maybe the army, there's a reason why he was in the Marine Corps or something. Or maybe he's done things in the Marine Corps that can come out here through this, and maybe Ripley can get to learn more about this man.
That's quite interesting. Under a flag, you're a hero, and not under a flag, you're a murderer. Kind of thing. There's a nice story in that.
You could do stuff there where maybe he's starting to doubt himself. Playing into that whole idea of it being a monastery as well. Like he's finding some sort of faith again, and he's putting down the guns, or something. I don't know. Maybe that distracts from what the movie is, but I definitely think making it a more normal prison environment gives you opportunities to allow the characters to be better tested as characters and as people, rather than it being this weird kind of colony that's in a prison
at the end of the universe.
Yeah. I know prisons prison colonies exist in every prison, You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be an island prison, but it can be like there are communities and gangs, and there are communities and law, laws with sub laws and all that kind of stuff, and cultures and all that in prison.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
I think
yeah,
we've got some really interesting solutions here that give it and sort of a renewed sort of, I don't know. There's a bit of more oomph in this sort of route. There's a bit more action. There's a bit more, I guess, more drama rather than sort of the gloomy. It's not introspective, but it's quite a miserable environment. I think it gives it a little bit more fun in a way. Obviously, not fun as in, "Way, this is hilarious." It's fun as in there's a bit of action. There's people getting their comeuppance. That before I run through all the solutions we've done, there's still a tiny hole at the end of how if we haven't got Ripley falling into the hot lead or whatever the metal is that they melt, how do we end this thing? They have a colony forming. Weyland Yutani are on the way. They are fighting their way through to get to the prison, to get to the armory to defend themselves. We need them to take out the colony. I don't think blowing the planet up against them an interesting thing to do. Like how can they wipe them out this time?
and it's literally the first idea that's coming to my mind, right? But if I'm a firm believer that with trilogies, sequels and all that, take the thing that we've been trying to do the first time and go in a different direction. You can still have the same type of movie trying to escape the alien, but let's flip the outcome in an interesting way. And we see that being done quite well with some, sometimes in movies. Have it be a case where rather than trying to destroy the aliens, just they let the aliens loose on, and it could be Newt doing it in the same way in Fallen Kingdom. Spoilers for Fallen Kingdom. Maisie takes ownership over the crisis moment. You have this be a case where it's Newt saying, let them out. There's the button that will unlock the prison doors, that will open up the prison security and open up the lockdown, and all the aliens will get out.
Nice.
And you have Newt be the one who pushes that button. You guys ruined my life. You killed my family, my brother, and now I'm going to make sure you suffer as well. And the whole film is Newt getting her revenge. And you've got Weyland Yutani have come down on their ships, and they've come down their transports, and they're all waiting outside the prison for whoever comes out, and the prison door opens. Nice. And it's just an army of xenomorphs that have been growing over the last 5 years. There you go.
Redemption.
And we don't know what happened. We don't know,
revenge.
Yeah, it's revenge. And do they get off the boat? We don't know, because look.
So how's about they're trying to get to the escape boat? There's an escape pod in this prison in case it burns or whatever, or they're deserted. They're trying to get to there. It can hold a few people. Whoever survives gets there. There's like 10 of them, 5 of them or something. They get on it. They can launch, but Weyland Yutani arrive. Newt's like, open the fucking blast doors, kill these guys, bang, kills them all. They launch, and then there is a planet filled with aliens now that exists now, and they are launching off into space, looking at it, thinking, "Shit, we got to deal with this." Sequel.
Yeah. There you go. That's it. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back there at some point, or something. Yeah.
Okay, great. We've smashed that. I would watch this film. So if we go back to the start, no Hicks and Newt dying.
No,
they all arrive at this planet. There has been a interference from Weyland Yutani, and they have got the ship to go to the closest colony, or the closest place of law and order, which is a prison. It's going to take them months to get there, so they're like, right, get these guys, imprison them, kangaroo court, whatever you have to do. We don't necessarily know that thread. We just know that they're in prison very quickly. They are tried for crimes that they didn't commit, but they could have done, and they're separated. So Hicks is in general population, fighting against the gangs and whatever, and also earning respect of a few of the prisoners. Ripley and Newt are separated with the Warden, who tries to look out for them. The prison is a working prison. There's guards, there are gangs, there's contraband. While all this is going on, outside there are facehuggers that have. There's a facehugger that's been in the lifeboat. It impregnates a person or an ox or a dog or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, and makes a queen. And this queen, while they're waiting for Weyland Yutani, while they're incarcerated, is laying a shitload of eggs. And when they start hatching, prisoners go missing, they impregnate them, more aliens start dragging them away, and it starts to build up into this horrible situation where they're locked away and there's another LV-426 happening. Then they realise, we have to get the hell out of here. I like the idea that there's the Danny Trejo character that gets impregnated. Like, it just kind of works, that does. So we have an awful sort of personified rapist getting, he gets impregnated by a facehugger, and then he eventually is really...
and he serves as a shield as well.
Yeah, he serves as the human shield. He has to work with them. They can't really trust him, but eventually he's getting his numbers up anyway. And as we get to the end, they're planning to escape on a lifeboat, which is on the top of the facility, let's say. Weyland Yutani arrive for their prize, and the Newt lets them out. Newt lets all the aliens out and destroys them. They launch off, and they realise they have to deal with it. And that is where we end up on Alien 3. So it's a prison break.
I know I helped with the ideas, but man, that was a hell of a pitch. So hats off to you.
Nice. That could be good fun. I like that. That's
cool.
I mean, I don't hate the Alien movie 3. I don't hate it. It had a place in my past, and I was excited to see it. But I mean, a few little minor tweaks there. I mean, it's a brand new film, really, but it's we could change that thing.
I think,
Have you got any last thoughts on it, John?
No, I think burn down the film and let's do this instead.
Nice. So thank you, John. That was fun. And thanks so much for listening, guys. This has been the Great Hollywood Rewrite from the Script Department. Please check out our website at thescriptdepartment.net for more conversations like this. Take a look at our social media. The links are in the description. And find us wherever you get your podcast. Just search for the Script Department and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any ideas of what film or TV show you'd like us to look at next week, just hit us up in the comments or message us directly. We look forward to hearing your suggestions. Nice one.